How do you do? How is everybody? It's a pretty frantic time of year after a pretty frantic year. So let's dive into January. But before we do, I'll just remind you about 2 weeks ago when I did a reading on Jack Smith wanting the Supreme Court to make a decision. Fancy that, making a decision that was in any way equitable. No, my reading said the Supreme Court will kick it back to another court. And that's exactly what happened. Sometimes I'd love to be wrong. Okay, but there we go. So we're going to jump in. I'm going to bring 4 cards for each week. So here we go. The first week of January, which is also the anniversary of January 6th. So will there be any repercussions around that? We'll have a look. So let's just do that. Okay. One, January 2024. Ooh, straight off the bat. Oh my God. Okay, so big cards here. It's going to lead to an expansion, or if you like, a heightened version of everything that's going on now. So I think this is global as much as domestic American politics on a global scale. The Empress can also represent Russia, but she's definitely about things getting bigger. You can expect some, this is my Ace of Wands, the Fred Flintstone card in many ways. There could be a commemoration of January 6th by those who are sympathetic to the insurrectionists and so on. There could be some degree of confrontation, but looking at the other cards generally, it's not going to be massive, but it is going to be there. And this could be, excuse me, an expansion by the media, blowing up what is happening to some extent here. I got the global feel with this Two of Cups. This is America and its allies, Ten of Swords. Now, I think to a certain extent, my vibe on this could be about what's happening in the Red Sea. What is America going to do about the disruption of shipping in the Red Sea? What can they do about it? Actually, not a lot with this Ten of Swords. It's like, in a way, they've exhausted all options short of full-on military. But the allies are talking. I assume this is the US, NATO. Australia always gets forgotten, but we are part of these alliances. But the end of week one, not marvelous. The upside to the Ten of Swords, however, is that to a certain extent the damage is done. And after tens, tarot works in such a way that you come up with a new ace. But I think this is representing that old guard way of doing things. It's not working anymore. So expect a kerfuffle in the first week of January. And we're now going to look at the second week. Now, in that first week, by the 2nd of January, all the legal motions have to be put in place with the DC appellate court. Everything has to be in by the 2nd, and they're going to give their judgment on the 9th. So the second week of January is very important. 2024. Let's have a look what's happening. Second week of January 2024. And because you have to have an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of the Yetis court cases, we forget, or at least I forgot, it's actually about Trump's motion to dismiss the election interference and all that stuff. So finally, after 4 years, a lot will be decided in this second week. And then what will happen? It'll go to the Supreme Court. Oh, Jesus. Okay, let's have a look at the second week. Here we go. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, big cards for the second week. Are we surprised? Not for a moment. Okay, here's something interesting. The King and Queen of Wands. It's fairly rare to get a royal couple like this. So, starting with the King. Swords govern all sorts of things, but in relation to this, legal, legal, legal. It's going to be two judgments that are massively significant, or the judgment in DC could affect two other major cases, which would make sense too. You know, the Georgia case, the Jack Smith stuff. It's all there in week two. Two major cards. One is the world card. This is massively important. How America handles this, and so far has failed to handle the insurrection at all. You know, from the global point of view, we do not understand this. But we are watching, hoping, praying that America gets its legal act together here, because it impacts on other countries, other people all over the world. The Queen, like we said, this could be Letitia James or Tanya Chutkan or even Fani Willis or all of them. The female judicial figures are going to be of major significance in week two. I'll just say that now. We've got to the hangman. There are various interpretations of the hangman, but after this legal breakthrough, legal cut through, legal decisions, it's all going to stop again. Right? Waiting. Ugh, really. So I think it's going to be not a stop-start week, more a start-stop week, week two. It'll start off boom, and then, you know, we'll be sitting around chewing our fingernails, waiting for further outcomes. So let's truck right along here into week 3 of January. 14th to the 21st. Okay, so this will be the actual, it's a key date because from that point on, it's into the full-on election cycle. So let's have a look at week 3, January. Week 3, January. Ah, I shuffled away and the hangman came up again. We'll talk about it differently. Okay. Week 3, another mixed bag to say the least. The hangman. Now, as I just said, it often represents time being suspended or things being held up, right? The second, can you see on this not very good camera, there's a halo around the figure's head, right? Representing a new perspective. But the third interpretation of the hangman, which I've sort of come up with myself over the years, is the sacrifice. So given it was the end of week 2 and the beginning of week 3, the same card, they're linked. So someone is going to be sacrificed on the altar of democracy, let us say. I wonder what that's about. Please remember this. Please keep an eye on it. You can be assured it won't be the Yeti, unfortunately, but someone significant will be sacrificed in this process. That will lead to loss and regret. So we've got to remember with this Five of Pentacles too, particularly at this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, as you can see by what I'm wearing, it's summer in the Southern Hemisphere. But for those in the Northern Hemisphere, you've got these two figures who are struggling, right? They're really struggling. And in this case, walking past the lights that are on in the church, I mean, it could represent all the evangelicals and the fundamentalist Christians that have moved so far away from being actual, active, compassionate Christians that they've come out the other side. You know, they represent something else entirely, and they want the world to go back to pre the Protestant Reformation. You know, they really are Old Testament nightmares. But I digress. In terms of this card for week 3, the lights are on. There are solutions, but people are so ground down and worn out, they can't see the light. Okay. There will be another opportunity collectively, I think this speaks of for America. There will be an opportunity in week 3 to Hand of God card with the Aces, Pentacles. So it could be a new way of looking at money, looking at your own money, or the country looking at its money and its debts and its resources. But there's a luminosity and a light here. So it could lead to bigger, better things. But it all depends on how people relate to money. It's not just money, it's about resources. In other words, you can be quite poor by monetary standards, but if you have family support or good friends or other forms of support, you are also rich. All right. So we have to rethink our relationship to money because economically things are not going to get better, particularly if we think back to the week 1. If I'm right and it's referring to an escalation of conflict in the Red Sea, everything is going to cost more, right? Everything's going to cost more because everyone in the West is over the oil barrel still because we've failed to act on climate change and sustainable energy. Don't start me. We're oil dependent and therefore the price of everything's going to go up. So start rethinking. I know a lot of you already do. You're part of cooperatives and collectives, and it increases your buying power, for example, if you shop as a group instead of individually. These ideas are going to come up week 3. And walking away. So it could be walking away from the chaos and the tension and the worry, because with the 8 of Cups here, this person, their work is done here. They're leaving because they're choosing to leave. They're not being forced out. It's not like the energy in this card, which is a bit sad and desperate. This is someone who's thought things through and going, no, not going to do it this way anymore. There's also an eclipse depicted here, a lunar eclipse. Eclipses are portals. This is an opportunity. 8s are quite dynamic. So even though superficially this looks like a quiet card, someone walking away, it can be quite dynamic. So think about that. Give it a bit of personal time and thought, because I think these are important energies to start the new year. It's like we all have the traditional New Year's Eve promises to self, and they usually last about 4.5 hours. So it's very important, 2024, to look after yourself and to really have some actual true goals, personal goals, political goals, ways to do life. Really important for 2024, because guys, you've got to be in excellent condition for 2024. You've got to hold the candle while all this is going on. All this. Okay. So week 4 of January 2024. Let's see what's happening there. have a look. Ooh, we're going to have to be careful in week 4. Very careful in week 4. Quite a complicated sort of array of energies represented here in just 4 cards. When we get to the 4th card, I'll pull some more about what it's about. Okay, so in political tarot, thanks to Johnny from Tarot's Apprentice, we often call the Knight of Cups the false knight because so often that's the case. But I think in this scenario, the US in the 4th week of January, going back to the conventional interpretation, he's the Prince of Love. He wants love. Let's end the conflict. Right. Now, obviously, this is high level and altruistic. There's going to be massive amounts of confrontation, violence, and awfulness that happen in the modern world for all sorts of reasons. Okay, so it's not magically going to stop, but I'm talking about the energy here. No one wins in the 5 of Wands. You see how they're fighting in a circle, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about the Middle East or anything else. Any, really intractable conflict can't be resolved by violence. It can't be resolved by violence. It has to be resolved by understanding, compassion, empathy, and extending love to even those we may have strife with. In other words, it's asking us to be our bigger selves. So much easier to just be grumpy and angry and frustrated, isn't it, really? It's actually quite hard to do that. So it's asking you to do that in the face of this. So in other words, week 4, it could be conflicts anywhere escalating, not de-escalating, or pointlessly going on. Remember these cards. It's important to hold on to your values now. Yes, pentacles are about money, but what is really important to you? And that's going to be under challenge because the next card is the Devil card. Now, let's have a little look at the Devil card here, okay? Now, there is the figure that represents the devil and being chained to the devil. Now, even if you're not a tarot aficionado, I'm sure you've seen these cards so many hundreds of times, you should sort of know what this can represent. But it's the feeling that you can't do anything. What can I do? I'm only one person. Oh, no. It can be about consumerism. Oh, well, I feel bad, so I'll have to go on eBay at 2 in the morning and buy more stuff. It can be, are your addictions getting a bit out of control? Have you been kidding yourself for a while that that bottle of wine every night sort of just evaporates in the bottle, that you're not really looking at drinking or other habits, but include in those habits overeating, negative sexual habits, anything that's holding you back. Because the meaning of the Devil card is those chains are loose, and it means it's a good time to take off the chains. So are you chained to old ideas? Are you in a relationship that's 6 years or 18 years past its best? I think New Year gives us symbolically an opportunity to question everything in our lives, because it's easier to maintain the status quo, even if you're unhappy or you're not feeling supported or you're not feeling inspired. But that's okay. I'll just do another year. No, 2024 is not for, oh, well, we'll just do the same. Please don't. Please don't. And know that you're not on your own. So many people are struggling all over the world with massive displacement and hunger and trauma. And in the West, we're eating ourselves to an early grave with obesity. There's everything so out of balance. So you've got the situation now where everything is so out of whack. And it's our job, I think, collectively as light workers. If you're watching this video, there's every chance that you're a compassionate human being and you have got something to offer. So look for what that can be. How can you help someone else in 2024 or a group of people or align yourself with a group of people? So let's have a look. Advice for 2024. 2024. This is for you guys. Yeah, do not be afraid of the tower. Now, here's the thing. It's a visually confronting card. We all know that, right? Now, here's the thing. The problem with the tower itself was it's built on rocky ground. Its base is too narrow, right? It was never a well-constructed tower. But we think we're safe in our own little towers, you know. And if we don't pick up on the messages, if we don't show flexibility, adaptation, compassion, and so forth, it ends up happening to you without your control, as opposed to seeing it on the horizon and understanding things have to break down before the new stuff can emerge. So that's the tower in the middle of the reading. The first card was the Nine of Pentacles. So this is a card of having a comparatively comfortable life, but like I've been saying about money, it's not just about the money. It can be good neighbors, it can be good support in any other form. Look at Pentacles as resources, okay? And it's also a card of higher education. This figure is quite well educated. 2024 would be really good for you to learn something. I'm not saying go and get a big college debt. I'm not saying that. You might choose to learn to do a massage course or to learn Reiki or to learn music. Or if you were taught music when you were a child and you hated school and you haven't picked up a music sheet for 45 years, music. Learn something new is a better way of putting it. Learn something new, a new skill in 2024, and stay true to your values. Then this is about holding on, and the tower's being forced to let go. So if everything crashes around you, don't worry. You hold on to what is really precious. You will find out in the course of 2024 what is really precious. And I'll tell you something for nothing. It's not money. Okay. So food for thought, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you on Christmas Day on JENN channel. So JENN Lynn, JENN, LYNN, lots of N's. I'll be on JENN's channel, so come and join us. You can find out there what time. I'd imagine it's 8 p.m. EST. So if you've had enough of your MAGA relatives by 8 p.m., slink off and come and join us. So take care. Bye for now.